Hi everybody, this is Scott George again, and this is another episode of the Wolf and the Neural Network. This is actually the season finale for season 4. What you're going to hear at the end of this are just calls to CPSNS, talking directly to Michelle Ouellette, and then Cox and Palmer, Colin Clark, and Jane Bates, their privacy officer, and then to their front desk. It's really just basic stuff, so it's not really overly exciting here, but it sets us up for the next season of the Wolf and the Neural Network, where it is going to get very spicy, and I'm going to come at these people much harder. Now, if you've been following along, you've seen that I've been dealing with CPSNS. They failed to investigate a sexual assault, and then their newest response from Michelle Ouellette was that they had offered me a review, which they didn't, and then she said that they gave me to end of day to reply, but they actually replied and closed it at 12:16 p.m., which was an end of day. So what she did was she actually falsified the records, and she did this intentionally, while stating that they would never do something like that. So she knows if she goes back and corrects that, it's going to set off a domino effect, and it shows the corruption, and it shows the culture of fabricating records and retaliation at CPSNS, which also tells you, though, that they're not going to get a lawyer to retaliate, because the moment that they do, they have to answer those questions for themselves. This now falls back to Cox and Palmer, and the same issue. They're going to have to speak to Stephen McNeil, and if he lies, I prove that he lies, it's all going to fall apart for Cox and Palmer. So they're not going to sue me. I would say pretty confidently they're not going to, unless I do something, overly whatever, come at them. So what you're actually watching are the positioning of these players, and I'm pushing them back into a corner and finding their weak spots, right? Now, what you'll see is you see the RCMP case number, right, with Shelley Muse, and you see the, which is 20252155, but you also see attachment 5566 with the Canadian Security and Intelligence Service, CSIS, right? They're monitoring this because of the national security concerns regarding, the parties involved with my phone's GPS location being set to 9330, highway number 7, Stillwater, Nova Scotia. So, not only do you have this pressure put against them, where I've got them on record lying repeatedly, right down to Crystal Morgan and Douglas Grant covering up sexual assault and abuse when they're mandated to investigate this. Now I've got these recordings with RCMP where they're threatening me, saying good in the background, and they're in action and not investigating a sexual assault. So then think about the logic here. CSIS is also watching, and now this is all going to fall back on them, right? So now RCMP knows CSIS is watching, the CPSNS knows that RCMP is watching, all these players know all of you are watching, but also the media are watching. Right? So RCMP is going to have no other choice but to go after CPSNS about the sexual assault, which is going to prove that I was right and show that they fabricated records. If not, those employees are going to lie to RCMP and engage in obstruction, which RCMP can charge them. Basically, what Michelle actually did in this case by lying the way that she did and misrepresenting that is that she gave RCMP a direct way in. Because they can just ask her, what does end of day mean? And is 12:16 p.m. end of day? No, it's not. Why would you lie like that, Michelle? They can't just take her word for it. Oh, it's just a little mistake. It's not a little mistake. It's a very serious mistake on a very serious set of topics, right? And it shows a pattern of this abuse and this negligence within CPSNS, that they can't be trusted to even investigate a violent sexual assault that was reported against one of their doctors, when they have audio recordings of these doctors changing their records to change names, to remove, say, even Stephen McNeil, right? So what you're seeing is actually the positioning, and if you look on the emails that are being sent, you'll see that Dan Marrow, the new RCMP commissioner for Nova Scotia, has been added. He's been added for some time. And I've also got delivery confirmations for, Jaina, Caines? I think, which is like their secretary or something like that. So I know that they're receiving these, right? And you see some jumps and spikes on the Wolf and the Neural Network website. Now, what's going to happen is, associated with Season 5, I'm going to release a massive dump of data as well, which is going to act as an extra motivator, and the media will be able to go through this and any other parties watching, which will motivate all other players to move forward. So this video is, in the end part of this, is really just about strategy. It's about just pushing them back into a corner to make sure that I know where they're at, and they know what the stakes are. And if they choose to retaliate, I have a lot more evidence, and I'm just going to come back at them, right? And now, say, like, in regards to Kristen Holm and stuff, yeah, we might be outside of the 2-year period for civil cases, but she's going to have to change those records, right? She's going to have to go back and she's going to have to correct that. And at that point, I can still go back and sue this woman. On top of her covering up a violent sexual assault and all the abuse and fabricating records, our CMP is going to have her clarify why she lied about that, especially knowing that I reported a sexual assault. So she is going to have to correct that. It's part of CPSNS's mandate that they also go after doctors for fabricating records, because you have a right to have a proper medical record, right? And it has to be proper. And when I can show she lied like that, she's going to have to correct it, and we're still back in the same situation. That's going to fall back on Cox and Palmer. This is all just to work out the strategy, shore everything up, and make sure everything's good. So if you don't watch that part of it, hey, that's okay. I totally get that, okay? I'll put up the timings for the different videos where they start and end, so that you could just jump to one if you want to see Cox and Palmer, if you want to see CPSNS. But if not, hey, that's okay as well. I hope you listen to this part, and thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.
Thank you for calling Cox & Palmer Halifax. Our office is closed for the Victoria Day weekend from Friday, May 15th at 5:15 p.m. until Tuesday, May 19th at 8:15 a.m. If you'd like to leave a message, please enter the extension number of the person you wish to reach, or to access our spell by name directory, press 1. To leave a general message, please press 0. Thank you. Record your message.
Hi, Cox and Palmer. My name is Scott Jewers. My phone number is 902-220-9106. I've attempted to contact your firm several times over the past 2 years. More recently, I've sent physical mail to both Colin Clarks and Jane Bates, your designated privacy officer for Nova Scotia, asking about a serious privacy issue that occurred between them and CPSNS and myself. I gave them the 30 days. That was back on April 1st. I mailed and sent email copies, and I contacted them here on May 10th, 2026. Their voicemails, and left detailed voicemail messages, and also emailed them. If you'd like to see a copy of the email, it is tinyurl.com/YUEMDSV3. If you'd like to see the YouTube videos, the one for Colin Clark is A, capital F, capital O, capital F, ETSV, capital Z, YG. If you'd like to see the one with Jane Bates, it is capital N, capital D, KA, 76, Y, capital N, 9, capital I, capital E. So those will allow you to view the correspondence and the messages that I left. This is involving a serious conflict of interest in multiple instances. I had contacted your firm, and they had advised that you are a conflict of interest in regards to Irving Shipbuilding. When I tried to retain a lawyer through your services. Now, CPSNS then had a serious issue with me involving Irving Shipbuilding and one of the doctors, and they had then forwarded my personal and confidential information to you. Now, it also turns out that you hire Stephen McNeil, and you have him employed in a significant capacity with your firm. This is a second conflict of interest. Now, I contacted CPSNS and asked them to please stop sending personal confidential information there, and they did nothing about it. So I decided, hey, I'd reach out to you guys again. Now, the current issue is that I am dealing with a sexual assault case, and one of these doctors covering it up, and that's some of the information that was sent to Cox and Palmer. They're stating they're going to continue sending information to your law firm if Jane Bates and Colin Clark do not respond. So I can't move forward, because then they're going to cause more of a conflict of interest issue where you employ Stephen McNeil in a significant capacity, and he's directly named in the complaint, and you have these active contracts with Irving Shipbuilding, and now you're not responding to this. Now, there is an ongoing case number with our CMP Special Victims Unit in regards to this. It's 2025-21595, but there's also an ongoing case with the Canadian Security and Intelligence Services, CSIS. It is attachment 5566. Now, this is regarding when Stephen McNeil was a premier of the province, and he was involved in a serious investigation. At the end of the investigation, it was requested that there be resignations, and he did resign. So he is very much aware of this, and he is going to be emailed this information as well. And inside of the records that were transmitted to you, the individual involved, the doctor, actually removed his names from the medical records, and there's audio recordings that show that, to specifically hide this conflict of interest types of issues. So this is very serious. It's well documented. I have tried to reach out to your firm in regards to this to state this is very serious, and if you don't speak with Stephen McNeil and you don't resolve this, you're going to have serious problems with this. Right? He's going to be forced to come forward, and this is going to call into question the entire integrity of Cox and Palmer. Okay? And when he does that, then that's going to jeopardize your shipbuilding contracts. So if you don't deal with this, there's a very good chance that the government, at my request, is going to remove those contracts or put some sort of limitations in place. But you could also get in a lot of trouble with the Barristers Association due to the conflict of interest concerns and you not addressing them, right, and not responding to these issues. So there's very serious problems being put forward. I'd recommend you directly speak with Stephen McNeil in regards to this, right? If you do not, my recommendation is going to be a full-scale investigation into your relationships with Stephen McNeil, right? They're going to want to know why you guys aren't doing anything, and the relationships are so serious, but you're also seriously jeopardizing your shipbuilding contracts. Now, I'm going to give you guys, again, 5 days to contact me back. If you do not, then all the gloves are off, and I'm not going to stop until there are serious ramifications, right? And if you try to retaliate against me, the media, W5, CBC, all of them are watching, okay? My safety was seriously jeopardized by actions involving your firm. So I would highly recommend you do not take those actions, and I would highly recommend that you take actions to remedy this situation appropriately and distance yourself from this issue instead of continuing down this path of allowing these individuals to retaliate.
You are approaching the maximum length for a recording. Finish your recording after the tone.
To retaliate and use your firm to do that. Okay, so I've done my due diligence. You have not done your due diligence. I'm asking you to please reach out to me. Again, my name is Scott Jors. My phone number is 902-220-9106. You need to speak to Stephen McNeil immediately.
This is Colin Clark. I'm not available to take your call at the moment. Please leave a detailed message and I'll get back to you. Alternatively, press 0 and speak to my assistant, Sherry Bowen. Thank you.
Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hi, Mr. Clark. This is Scott Jors calling again. My phone number is 902-220-9106. Now, I did call you on May 10th, and I'd sent you physical mail and emailed you on April 1st, 2026, regarding serious conflict of issue concerns involving urban shipbuilding, Stephen McNeil and CPSNS, asking one of you to please reach out to me, or at least your privacy officer. Jane Bates, she was also emailed and physical letter sent. I have delivery confirmation showing that she received it, and I also have audio recordings of the voicemail call. So it's very reasonable that you guys did receive this and you're well aware of these issues, and that it involves one of your employees, Stephen McNeil, and that I'm trying to file a complaint regarding a sexual assault, and I don't want more of my personal confidential information sent to your firm. Right? So the premise of that is very clear, and you have not got back to me. So at this stage, I have called the general number for Cox and Palmer and just left a really nice message again, just as I've left you two nice messages, advising that since I have gone forward and done my due diligence here, the next part's going to be a serious warning in regards to the steps that I have to take next, right? Stephen McNeil is going to have to come forward and admit what he did, and if you guys don't question him, it's not going to change the outcome. It's going to look bad for your firm. It's going to look like you guys knew about this, did nothing, and then the question's going to be, did they know the entire time? Especially with Kristen Holm changing this in the records and CPSNS doing nothing about this and all of the inaction in these parties. So then you're going to be associated with sexual assault, planting evidence on users' phones, right? And then covering up this kind of abuse and not dealing with the conflict of interest issues, which is going to get you in trouble with the Barristers Association. But more specifically, the RCMP have been implicated in a serious way. They're not going to back down. They're going to come in and question him. And if he doesn't answer those questions, he could drag you into some serious litigation. And for what reason, Mr. Clark? What you're doing right now is you're putting those shipbuilding contracts in jeopardy. Because my recommendation to the Canadian government, to urban shipbuilding, is not even a recommendation. My word carries a lot of weight, probably more than Mr. McNeil's. And you want to look him in the face and ask him that. Is to terminate those contracts with Cox and Palmer because you're going against your own conflict of interest rules. You're not answering privacy requests, and it looks like you're intentionally trying to protect this kind of behavior. Now, I am giving you the option and the ability to try to please deal with this, but you're not taking those options, right? Which means then you must be saying that I'm doing something wrong or that you're going to try to fight this. Okay, and if that's what you want to do, then that's what we're going to do. So the next stage is going to be sending this out to the media, these audio recordings, right? And if you try to retaliate, you want to be very careful of what I have, because I can show these people put my life, my reputation in danger, and this is absolutely in the public interest. CPSNS retaliated, so did Stephen McNeil, and those involved parties, including his brother Robin McNeil. right? Are you ready to defend that in court? Are you really going to try to defend that type of behavior? So, I mean, the choice is yours, and the choice is Cox and Palmer's. I'm going to be calling Jane Bates. I'm going to be leaving a similar message. And from there, I'm going to also be emailing Stephen McNeil so that we know you're all on the record. And if you look at the email I sent, you can see CPSNS messed up. All I need to do is ask them to define what end of day means. And you know I'm going to win. And to show that she caused the same issue Suzanne Husbands did, they're obstructing the record. They're just trying to move the goalpost. That's extremely suspicious to RCMP. So what are they going to do? They're going to investigate, and then they're going to go to Douglas Grant. They're going to go to Kristen Holm, and they're going to see everything I said was right. And that's going to lead right back to Cox and Palmer and Stephen McNeil again. Right? And that doesn't even include Tim Houston when he's going to have to talk about this. Right? And we could avoid all of this. We could avoid the damage to your firm, to your own reputation in this, just by you taking proper conflict of interest steps and notifying CPSNS of the conflict of interest that your firm has already advised me of. Okay? Now, please, I'm asking you to please deal with this. Let's not escalate this any further. But if that's what we're going to do, that's what we're going to do. I have a lot more, and I have every right to bring this out, okay? So please, do the right thing here. Do the right thing for you. Do the right thing for me. And, yeah, do the right thing for this province, okay? Thank you very much, and you have a good day.
Sorry, Jane Bates is not available. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hi there, Miss Bates. My name is Scott Jors. My phone number is 902-220-9106. I had contacted you on May 10th, 2026 and left a voicemail. I'd also sent physical mail to your office on April 1st, 2026, but I had also sent emails and received a delivery confirmation for you stating you were in Australia, so I know that you've received it. And I have not received anything back. Now, you are listed as the designated privacy officer for Nova Scotia, and I did make a very clear privacy request, and you have not responded. It's now been well over 30 days. It's been at least 45, I would state, with multiple notifications. So you're well outside of any type of PIPEDA or federal privacy requirements in that regard. Well, this also involves personal health information, PHIA, and you have not responded when your firm is working with CPSNS, and so you know that you're also subject to that in certain degrees, right? So you've not responded in any way in regards to this. Now, I'd also made it very clear that there was a massive conflict of interest with your firm, where personal and confidential information was sent to Colin Clark, by CPSNS, and your firm had stated that you were a conflict of interest in regards to urban shipbuilding because of the shipbuilding contracts, but you also employ Stephen McNeil in a significant capacity, and the person from Nova Scotia Health Authority, who they, Kristen Holm, whom they were acting on behalf of, had actually removed Stephen McNeil's name from the written record, and there's an audio recording that shows she absolutely did remove that name to specifically hide those conflict of interest issues. Right? Because obviously it's so serious. So you haven't contacted me back in regards to any of this, and I have contacted you, and you haven't clarified any of the privacy stuff, whether yay or nay. Right? And you still have to tell me yay or nay. You have to respond to these requests, and you haven't done so. So I have called Colin Clark again. I've called your front office and left a nice voice message, just like I'm doing with you here. And I'm advising that now my next steps are I'm going to escalate this case, and I'm going to request a serious investigation into these parties, right? And part of that request is going to be that the federal government and provincial government and Irving Shipbuilding strip any and all contracts associated with Cox and Palmer due to the conflict of interest issues, you double dipping on this, and not addressing the privacy concerns. You're not functioning as a proper law firm. You're functioning as some sort of protection mechanism for this kind of abuse and cover-up and fraud. And the reality of the issue is that Stephen McNeil, when he comes forward, and he's going to come forward, because if not, if he gets caught lying in regards to this, it's going to be serious federal crime. He's going to come forward and admit this, and then the question is going to be, how didn't Cox and Palmer know? How didn't you all know? Of course you knew, and you just did nothing about it. And that's going to put you into serious legal jeopardy, right? But then what are you going to do? Sue Stephen McNeil for not coming forward? Are you going to sue CPSNS? There's a much easier way to deal with this. Okay, now I'm trying to deal with the case that involves a violent sexual assault with CPSNS. They're stating they're going to continue to send my personal and confidential information to your firm. That is completely inappropriate given this circumstance, and I need Cox and Palmer to come forward and state very clearly if you are a conflict of interest in regards to Irving Shipbuilding and Stephen McNeil. That's not an unreasonable request, and that'll stop further litigation, stop further privacy breaches on behalf of your law firm. Right? So there is a good way to deal with this. There's still a decent way to deal with this. I'm going to give you a couple more days to respond. Right? But I can show very clearly this is in the public interest. These parties have retaliated against me, including planting evidence on my phone, which I can easily prove. Okay? And that there is a serious threat to my safety in regards to this, and there always was the entire time. And when Mr. McNeil comes forward, it's just going to confirm that even further. So if your firm tries to come after me, then I really think that's not going to go well. So the next step here is I'm going to be adding W5 to these emails, and they're going to hear these audio recordings. They're going to see all the evidence popping up in real time. We're going to add Fifth Estate. I'm going to add a bunch of different news outlets from across the country. Now, you see the quality of evidence and the quantity of evidence that I'm putting out there. Are you really ready to gamble against me on this? Is that the route that we're going to go? You're going to come after a victim? You're just not going to do anything about this? What is that going to do to the reputation of your firm on top of everything else? And for what? To protect abusers, sex offenders, to protect this kind of fraud, to protect privacy breaches? Like, there is a better way to deal with this, Jane. Okay? Let's take that path instead of going down this path.
Maximum length for a recording. Finish your recording after the tone.
Let's take the path where we can all benefit, mitigate the damage now. Because I'm not going to stop, okay? Please. All right, thank you very much, and you have a good day.
You've reached the public inquiries line of the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Nova Scotia. Please be advised that our office will be closed on Monday, May 18th. We will reopen on Tuesday, May 19th. If you're calling to file a complaint, you may visit our website at www.cpsns.ns.ca to watch our video and fill out our online complaint form. Our college is unable to help with access to care or respond to medical emergencies. If you're experiencing a medical emergency, please call 911. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis, please visit your nearest emergency department or call the mental health crisis line at 1-888-429-8167. Thank you.
Start recording at the tone. When finished, press the pound key.
Hi, CPSNS and Michelle. My name is Scott George calling. My phone number is 902-220-9106. I have contacted you guys several times in regards to a serious complaint that includes a sexual assault that was reported to your office, and your employees have not investigated it, and in fact it covered it up. Now, I had contacted you guys on several times, but the last time was a voice call on, I believe it was the morning of May 11, 2026. And if you'd like to view that video, the YouTube ID is capital N, capital W, Q, O, S, Z, 3, capital L, capital Z, capital L, 8. And if you'd like to see the letter that was sent, the URL is tinyurl.com/YUEMDSV3. So I have contacted you guys several times reporting that this violent sexual assault occurred, that you guys have not investigated it, and I provided a detailed response regarding Michelle's response from May 8th, 2026, stating that quite clearly I was not offered a proper review, and that Suzanne Husbands actually just closed the case midday, and she said I had until the end of day, right? And Michelle came back to me stating that she'd spoke to legal and that it's not their responsibility to look at conflict of interest, but I clearly stated there was a privacy breach caused by the conflict of interest, which is what you are mandated to look into. I made it very clear that there was incidents of sexual assault that was reported against a doctor, and none of your staff, including Michelle, looked into it or took the issue seriously, which you are mandated to do. But also made it very clear, because she had said that Suzanne Husbands had offered me review, and it's like, okay, she did, but actually at 12:16 she said that she can confirm I never requested a review, which I didn't, when she had given me the end of day. That's right. And if you ask Michelle to go and ask her legal team what does end of day mean, I can tell you they are going to say it doesn't. It's not 12:16 p.m. She clearly, once she's seen the privacy issues, she retaliated and closed the case. And she did the same thing that Michelle did. She seen there was privacy issues, and instead of assessing that properly and looking at the times and what she said, she then just closed the case, lied about what was actually being said, and misrepresented it in the file to make themselves look like victims. And then Michelle's argument is that, no, we wouldn't do that. Well, she did that. She did exactly what Michelle did, on top of showing that Douglas Grant didn't investigate it. He misrepresented, so did Crystal Morgan, on top of the rest of the evidence submitted. But I was also talking about the conflict of interest, where you guys were sending my information, personal confidential information, to Cox and Palmer, who are a conflict of interest in regards to Irving Shipbuilding, which they themselves explicitly stated, and Stephen McNeil, where Kristen Holm actually changed the name of Stephen McNeil to Stephen Harper in the written record to specifically cause issues with the conflict of interest reviews. So you guys have not responded to this at all. So what I've done is I've actually contacted Cox and Palmer again, and at this stage what I'm going to do is I'm going to be requesting that the government revoke their contracts in regards to the shipbuilding contracts and stuff because of these issues, right? But also put pressure on Stephen McNeil to come forward, and when he comes forward, this is going to cause a catastrophic set of events that are going to come right back on CPSNS. This case is also open with the RCMP under case number 2025-21595. And now that they've got so many examples of CPSNS lying, more specifically Michelle misrepresenting that, they can come in there and ask her, what does end of day mean, Michelle? Not 12:16 p.m. You guys closed this, you misrepresented this, you didn't report a violent sexual assault. There are reasonably other victims. And my request to RCMP is that if there are any other victims from the time Michelle or any of your employees touched this, I'm asking that they be criminally charged and held liable, and I will be seeking civil liability against those individuals, because you are mandated to look into fabrication of records, the mistreatment of vulnerable people, sexual assault and abuse. And you know this has occurred. Michelle herself just fabricated records and did nothing about it. She knows that I was not offered a fair review. Right? And these are very simple issues to correct. So what I'm doing now is I'm adding the media. W5, I'm adding CTV, I'm adding Fifth Estate, CBC, and I'm going to add a whole bunch of other media outlets. And I can show that you guys have retaliated and allowed retaliation, especially with Nancy Murphy. And you guys violated Section 46, in that there is
20 seconds remaining to record your message.
There's an issue with public safety and public interest here. So if you try to retaliate against me, I can tell you this is not going to go good for CPSNS. Okay? I've done my due diligence. I've just asked you, Michelle, to be a decent person, and it seems you're choosing to retaliate and blame me for your bad choices. Please, I'm going to give 2 days if you don't respond.
Now and exit.